Welcome to Today in News Tech Publisher Interviews. Thank you for tuning in. As always, today's episode is brought to you by ourhometown.com, WordPress publishing solutions for newspapers, and hosted by Matt Larson. Today we have a special guest joining us from Lisbon, Portugal. She is the co-founder of the new digital newspaper, Mensagem. Catarina Carvalho, welcome to Today in News Tech.
Catarina, welcome to the podcast. Thank you so much for taking the time to talk with us today and share some of your insight with the publishers that we work with.
Thank you for having me and us at Mensagem. It's great to talk to so far away.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's really neat the way that we have connected just through Twitter. We, of course, covered a story about you on our podcast Today in News Tech and what you're doing in Lisbon with hyperlocal journalism. But before we get into it, I want to just basically break down your model and just try to help the publishers that we work with understand how you can create a digital-only publication. And that really can be something to sustain an operation. And that's something that they all want to work towards. So before we get into that, though, can you just tell me a little bit about your background? Because I know you did come from legacy media. How did you start off in journalism and then end up at this digital-only startup?
Yeah, Matt. Actually, I did that transition in my own story because I started working as soon as the internet became a thing in Portugal. It was 96. Right. And I remember my newspaper, the newspaper I worked with, Diário de Notícias, we started to have a homepage right that day, like 1996.
Right.
And I was the person who did the first story on the first web page of the newspaper.
Wow.
So I vividly remember that there was a lot of suspicion, and it was a disruptive thing. And then we did that thing, which was what killed the media on the digital age, which was to make everything free. And then so we made everything free that we used to pay for. So that was the foundational scene that we did. But so I did all this transition. I worked in the traditional media, although still working with digital at the same time, still very focused on the paper. I went through a lot of newspapers in Portugal. Then I went to be the executive editor of the oldest newspaper in Portugal, Diário de Notícias. Again, it was the same newspaper I had worked at, but then then I became a little bit fed up with the culture of the newspapers, and not only the newsrooms, but also the way that you couldn't innovate as much as I wanted to. And me and the editor, we left, although he's much older than us, than the rest of the team. He always has this innovative mind in himself. And we kind of accepted a proposal from an entrepreneur in Lisbon to create this hyperlocal digital community journalism venture.
Right. Yeah. So we were really curious about that whole model. And I love the story about how you started in a cafe, literally just like in the community, hearing stories, talking to people, interviewing them in this centralized location. Can you just tell us a little bit about that project and, what if you're doing that still or how that's evolved?
Yeah, so we have been from the beginning the main idea was to have the headquarters of the newsroom in the cafe, which is one of the oldest and most important cafes in town. It's Brasileira in Chiado. It's really downtown for those who know Lisboa. And it was always a cultural cafe. In the turn of the century, it became very important. It was one of the first modernist cafes in Portugal, and it has a very big art collection, which was very disruptive in those times. It was really something that changed the culture, the people, the debates that were there. Some of the biggest artists were there, and throughout the times, the cafe had become a little bit, normal, like a normal cafe. And so when these guys became the new administration of this cafe, they wanted to bring back the culture to the cafe. And what a better way to do that than doing journalism there. So what we do at the cafe is we do live journalism at the cafe. Even yesterday, we had a session with expats in Lisbon.
Okay.
And it was a session in English about the elections that are going through in Portugal.
Right.
So that's what we do. We do at the cafe. We do, that's it.
Is this
exactly
the event?
Yeah, sure. So what we do at the cafe is we do debates, we do interviews, we do contacts with people, we do all the interviews that we give are in the cafe. So you see the cafe is very beautiful, as you can see.
Yes, this is
and so
like a dream.
Yeah, so very this cool. is what we do. We don't work on the daily basis there because it wasn't feasible, but we go there every time.
This is what I just wish more publishers would embrace, this idea. So it looks like it's a live event and people can come and listen in person, but you're streaming it at the same time? Of
course.
Okay.
You can do.
Why not?
What we are doing is a double event.
Right.
It's live for some people, and then we just we broadcast it online. This is a simple Zoom session.
It's just a Zoom. Okay, so technically anyone can do it. We've all used Zoom.
Yeah.
Now, with the membership, let's jump a little bit ahead here. Like the membership model, when people sign up for a membership and they donate, do they get some kind of exclusive access to these events, or how does that work?
No, they don't, because we started as something, we were testing what the reaction of the public would be. Sure. So we have a lot of members who are donating, kind of, because they don't get any perks in exchange for that. But now we are starting a new membership model, and yes, people will get access to these events and to other events. Because we are looking at Lisbon, and this is something that I think could be like, everybody could do this anywhere in the world.
Exactly.
We are looking at Lisbon as a cultural thing, and we are looking at our journalism not only serving the information needs of people, but also the community needs of people. So what we are doing is preparing workshops, visits, concerts, debates, but also, not only debates about this, which was politics, but also debates about poetry, about things of Lisbon, about everything that makes a city inspiring. And this is something that we believe is the secret, will be. It's not because we haven't, and also the pandemic has, postponed a lot of things like this.
Sure.
So
how long have you been running the site?
From 1 year now.
1 year in.
It's 1 year in February, in the end of February.
Wow! Yeah. Congrats! Perfect timing. Okay, very cool.
Yeah, we were going to start it, and then the pandemic came again, and it was the worst phase of the pandemic. But we decided to go anywhere, and it was a good decision because people weren't doing anything at home. So there was a lot of buzz about the website.
Yeah, and you continue to build the buzz. You're getting attention from these industry publications. And in this interview, I kind of want to go into what you were just saying about this model. And I forget exactly where the quote was in here, but I have it right here written down in my notes, that we feel strongly that this is a scalable business that can be replicated elsewhere, not just because it's, journalism for the people, by the people, but because of the style and the focus on positive journalism. I've been seeing more and more of this in the US too, just not reporting, this old adage, if it bleeds, it leads, writing about crime all the time. You're kind of throwing that out the window and saying, we're not going to focus on that.
Because the others are all doing it. So
there you go.
And so there was no critical factor of success in doing it. So we decided to embrace a little bit of what we could call the solutions journalism movement, which is not what we do because it has certain rules and stuff. But what we decided to do was to first show what the people in the city were doing. Right. Second, what could be done for the problems of the city. So we never say, state a problem. We never pinpoint a problem without giving some examples of something that could be done about that problem. Even if it is people in Portugal speaking about traffic or, about mobility, about something in the environment, we always give so that readers don't feel like victims of news. We want them to feel empowered, and feel they can do something about it, and they can actually. They can.
I love that. Yeah. No, I mean, really, I've never really put my finger on it until I heard the term solutions journalism. I could never put my finger on what was so depressing about the news. And it's just that. It's not empowering most of the time. It's just reporting on the facts of the problem. To boil it down.
Which is great. And it has to be done. It's already being done by so many people that it wouldn't be fair. I mean, it wouldn't be good for us to do it. And also because one of our founders, the one who was investing on us, has this idea that the world needs inspiration. And this is what we want to do.
Yeah, no, I love it. And I think a lot of people are becoming more familiar with that movement. So it's good to kind of highlight that here today, solutions journalism, some variation on that. Can we talk about your strategy for growth? Because this is something that we come across all the time. You launched this website. Here's a crazy story. We launched a website recently, a couple of them, that had no digital presence outside of Facebook. So they had no website in 2021, but we were able to convert that digital audience on Facebook into a website audience by just automatically posting everything on the website to Facebook because they had 20,000 followers there. But like as a digital only publication, you have really, how do you get traction? How did you grow? I know you have a strong presence on Facebook and Instagram.
I was going to tell you that. Although we are seeing a lot more of traffic from Instagram, for instance, or Twitter. Twitter is growing a lot. 60% or 50% of our traffic still comes from Facebook. What we do on Facebook, which is different from the other media, is that we publish not only on our Facebook. You can see that this is like 10 likes. It's a very low liking, but we have other that's also low. And this beginning of the year, because we are having elections, it's not working as strong as it was in the last few months of the year. So we had a lot. We had a lot of traffic from. We had a lot of traffic in December. December was a great month for us. But what I was saying is, so the thing is this, we just publish in some of the Facebook groups that are around Lisbon. The groups. We use a lot the groups. We use a lot. We ask them to be a part of the group, and then we just when we see something that's interesting for them, we publish there.
Wonderful. Okay, so break that down a little bit for us, because I'm all about just like actionable things that I bring to the publishers. So a Facebook group is just technically a different type of organization. You have pages on Facebook. That's one thing, but then there's also groups. So basically this is something that they could just search. Just search for in their town, different interest groups, like
I don't know if this happens. I don't know if this happens a lot in America, but in Lisbon, there are a lot of neighbors who constitute groups, who form groups, and from the neighbors and from the boroughs. And so what we see is like if there is something if there is something that could be of interest to a certain group of a certain area, we just go there and write something like directly speaking to these people, to these guys, and we publish there. If there is a group about a certain neighborhood, if there is a story about this neighborhood, we just go there and publish. That's what we do.
So you're really putting time into editorializing. So you've got, let's say, a dozen different boroughs and neighborhoods. You're only gonna, let's say this story about your interview, you might only put that on certain areas that could have attended?
It depends. Like this story, it's a part of a story that we did about the elections. It's a Q&A, and we published the Q&A, which was in English, by the way, in the expats groups in Lisbon. Yes.
Wow.
So, so we do that. As you said, we have a person, it's part of the team. We have a community manager. He's also a digital editor, because we are a startup. We don't have that many people, but he works like all his day is, his work every day is to decide which groups is he going to publish the stories, to design. I don't know if you've seen it, but we have a very different page on Instagram, different from the website. We kind of use the Instagram as something different. It's a different web page for us, because we don't live by traffic. We can do this kind of rich things. When you look it up, you can see that what we do is we publish in different timings. We don't publish at the same time. So you see, we have stories, and we also have stories on slideshows, and they just tell a different story from the one which is being published on the website. And this is tailor-made for Instagram, and we are having a lot of success. You see, there's much more likes here than there was on Facebook, although we still have the traffic from Facebook, but the engagement comes from here.
Yeah, this is what they talk a lot about. Really big organizations, like I was reading something on the New York Times, they will specialize for every platform. I think for a lot of our publishers, it's just not practical. They just don't have, the time to do it, because they're focused on this print product too. But you guys, since you're all digital, you can really just maximize your reach on social media, and you understand the social network effect of groups. And I've talked to publishers. One thing that's just very simple is just like mentioning and hashtagging on Twitter. That's something that's just going to get you in front of a lot more people. These are things that you can't just do it as simple as taking a link to your website and posting it. You got to go the extra mile, and the platforms really do reward you. So the only thing though is you're not actually getting traffic from Instagram, right?
No.
That's
almost nothing.
Engagement, right?
Yeah, but as I told you, like we don't go by clicks. We don't need that.
I get it. It doesn't matter.
For us, it's the same. Yeah, like if we have like 10,000 people who are reached by our stories on Instagram. That's 10,000 people who are reached by our stories. So that's what's interesting for us. So we are free to do that. Although I can tell you that these guys, to these people who say they don't have money and that they have to be in the rush of the hour, and I think that a lot could be done with one person. This is what we do. And with one story a day. If you treat one story well a day, that's what we publish, you will get a lot still.
Over here, I think they usually call them like social media manager. You said you call it a community manager. However you want to look at it, there's a lot more that they could be doing than just taking links and putting them up here, breaking apart the story into like each platform has their own tools. So
we don't do TikTok. We still don't do TikTok because we can't. It's really too much for us.
Just to have a video for everything, you have much more still content, and we don't print.
Yeah, we don't have video for everything, although there are some videos there. But we are this is one step up that we are trying to give. This year, by the end of the year, one of the objectives is to have a video operation. Yeah.
So, okay, that's interesting. That's something that publishers talk about trying to get into all the time. How do you look at getting into video? Like, what kind of content would you start with for video? I mean,
the same as what we do. You've
already got a lot of video. Yeah.
Yeah, we have a lot of video, although it's not a systematic thing. So
Sure.
we have a partnership with another project in Lisbon, which is by the way directed by two expats in Lisbon, a guy from Ireland. It's called the People of Lisbon Project, and they are working with us in the video, and I am just now trying to understand what we will do, but it will be the same. It will be the same logic.
Right.
Small things.
Yeah.
Slow journalism, one thing at a time, and very good quality. That's the main focus.
I love the philosophy, and you're looking at it very principled. But I mean, just think of a real specific example. Couldn't you just take this Zoom video, and maybe clip it into a bunch of highlights?
We could. We didn't do that because of the membership idea.
Interesting.
This will be. We did that, and we sent to the people who registered for the event.
Right. Okay. I just want to make sure that I get this membership model. What is the eventual membership model going to be? Because right now I can come in and support, but it looks like, is there any paywall on the site? Is there any kind of paywall?
No. And it will never be, because
no
at least as long as far as we can see.
Right.
But because one of the things that we see is that when things get paywalled, then people don't have access, and we want to be accessible for everybody in the city. One of the things that we usually say is that we are trying to create empathy through knowledge. So, and you can't do that without knowledge, without being universal. So so now, as you can see, this is a donation. What we are working on is to transform this into something that people can have feedback. They can get access to events. They can get perks, merchandising, and other things like
Very cool. Well, one thing that my team and I, when we saw your story, thought that might make sense is some type of a perk with a local business, as a membership. And to me, the cafe made sense. Are you thinking of anything like that? Like by becoming a member, then you get some like free coffee.
Coffee. Yeah. We that's part of the deal. Yeah.
Okay. Very cool.
But if the cafe was more, I mean, this could even work better. And I think this is what we are. I like proving every time is like, if you have a small cafe in your town, which is not as known as Brasileira, and which is not as a tourist place as Brasileira, you can do so much. If a newspaper has a cafe, then they can do a lot with it. Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, turning it into that hub, using it as an event space, it's a win-win.
There are some other examples like Tortoise. There's a website. I don't know if you've covered them, but it's a good idea to cover them. And they are also digital, but they are based on podcasts. That's what they do. They do podcasts, and they do slow journalism. That's why it's called Tortoise. And they have a place in London where people can meet in meetups, like in newsroom meetings every week or every day, almost every day. And they are turning that place into an even more comfortable, accessible through Zoom through web space, and this is not just us. It's like it's a movement in some parts of the world, at least. Yeah.
Right. You brought up the podcast there at this other organization. I did want to ask you a little bit about that, because I checked it out. I don't think any of it's in English, so I couldn't really follow it. And can you just tell us a little bit about how you think about podcasting, and like what's your format for those?
The format here is not words. It's not spoken words. It's a format that relies and that focus on the sounds of the city. So this focus on,
it's very cool.
Yes, on the sounds of how do the elections sound?
Yeah, sure.
if you have a musician in the streets, we go and talk to him and record it in the sounds that city produces itself. A lot about the noise that could be heard after the pandemic, like the difference. So this is a very small podcast. It has like almost, goes up to 15 minutes, the most. And it's all about the sounds of the city. Yeah.
Okay.
And it's the same. It's the same. It's leisure hearing. It's not, and it has some information, but it is mostly inspiring and good for you, like, pleasurable. Yeah.
Right. I love so many things about that. Like, I guess the way that I would put it, what you're trying to do here is cover what can't be covered in text, really. What we do with our podcasts, and we have this tool I showed you in the beginning for translating text to audio. So that is purely like a news flash kind of feel. Here's the article, just read it. There's really no art to it. This is much more of like a piece of art. I listened to it. It has very much like an NPR kind of feel, like just a nice pacing.
Sure.
And as you said, some information kind of laced in there, and people are still getting that information, but it's in a more relaxed, kind of enjoyable way, entertaining way.
Another format that we have in audio, which is not very much because we started it after we did the webpage, and now we are changing a little bit the webpage to encompass these changes. It's a playlists about Lisbon.
Would it be all these episodes organized in a
No. It's a music playlist. We ask musicians to make really make playlists about their music of Lisbon, and we have like 4 or 5, and we have some more to publish. So that people can hear. It's the same.
Yeah, is that a
2 hours of music to your life? Yeah.
So is that like something that you share and create on a platform like Spotify, or is it
the podcast is in every platform?
Okay. Very cool.
The playlists are on Spotify. Yeah.
So that makes sense. That's kind of a thing where brands and musicians definitely, but even just brands, and it could be news organizations, news brands, create playlists, and it's kind of just like a fun side thing. It doesn't really have to do with the news exactly, but it's just it shows a little of the personality of the people creating the news. So I think that's really nice idea. Okay, you've got newsletters, and this is a free newsletter. Sign up, I guess.
This is a very important thing for us.
Yep.
It's the way that we get in touch with our readers on a weekly basis, and it has a 41 or 43% opening rate, which is great.
It's excellent. It's very high.
And we don't bother people a lot. We just send it once a week. And we treat it as a letter, really. We call the Dear Neighbors, so it's like a letter. And it's very much focused on what we are doing, and it's a conversation.
So are you writing this letter manually each week? Okay.
Yeah, so I am writing, although I am trying to make the team write it more than they do.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. I mean, what we do, just so that, like a lot of the publishers that come into this, because we make even the publishing on the website automated, we've also automated the newsletter. So, I mean, is that something that you would ever consider doing, just pulling in the latest articles or something like that, just to save yourself time? You feel like you need that personalized touch, and they just kind of your voice in it.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Sure.
Yeah. I just think it's so fascinating to hear, someone that starts and is totally digital centric, the things that are critical to them. So you're saying it's mainly newsletters, it's the events to bring more community, and the positive journalism.
And it also cuts some costs. That's one of the things that we are trying to assess in this media in the media business. It's when you have to think about paper. It's a different kind of costs, and you can do a lot without doing that. And the fact is that people are all digital now. I mean, I don't read a paper in paper. a newspaper in paper for I don't know what, 3 years or something. And
Well,
I'm just a normal person.
The thing is, you're not a normal person. You're a journalist. You're a media person, and you still don't read the newspaper anymore. I mean, look, the whole pandemic has accelerated all of these trends that we've been seeing unfolding, and it's becoming more and more urgent that they become digital centric. And I think a lot of newspapers in America are still going to keep printing for years. But
I mean, if it's good for them and if it makes profits, they should do. There's no
exactly. With the ads, as long as it makes profit. But I'm just trying to encourage them to think more digital first. And if they could organize their workflow around digital, it'd be beneficial. So maybe to kind of wrap this up as a final note, just as a comment to someone that came from legacy, if you, for some reason, wanted to develop a print product, could you imagine how that would work? You're digital first. You could write it on the website and then reverse publish it to print if you wanted to, right?
Of course, yeah. What we are doing is, so it's very much a paper bound, because it's very much stories that are very beautiful and that have beautiful pictures and that can be totally put on paper. As in fact, we are trying to do a paper edition, kind of a book, in this next year. So it's like, because we totally want them to stay in people's lives. So that's the thing. But what I would say to people is, it's kind of a humbling lesson. You have to think about to see what people are doing and not think about yourself as the center of the universe. Like, watch around. What are the consumption habits of people? What are they doing? Where are they going? Because there's nothing as physical as a cafe. And this is very important for people in local place, in local ventures. But still, if you can reach a lot more of them by digital, and if you can have a kind of much more plastic offer that you can, can build to special people and adapt to other people. Why not? Why not do that? It's I know it's hard for breaking news, because it's breaking news. I've been there. Give the news, send it. Push the button, but then I know that I am in a privileged situation because we are not doing that, and that's one thing. But still, you can make a very good slow venture and do it digital. There's no need for you to do it just on paper. Yeah. Right.
What you said right at the beginning, I really just struck a chord with me. Just looking at what the new reality is, look at what people actually do. Actions speak louder than words, and people might say, yeah, I read the paper, but what are they actually doing? I think 90% of their attention is consumed on some digital medium, and you have access to those platforms. We're talking Facebook and Instagram and everything. So, you can get access to those people, use these channels, and then develop them into your own audience by getting control of their email. Like you said, the newsletter is such a keystone there, right? It's kind of a big funnel, driving them to the newsletter and then eventually converting them to supporters. I do find it interesting that you're talking about putting out some type of a print product to, I think you said, maintain that connection to the physical. You're going to do an annual. It's just an annual though. What you're doing there is just kind of, you're coming back into the print world in to a degree that makes sense in the current environment. The world has changed so fast. It's like people have been disoriented. If they could just rethink it, maybe a lot of weekly papers would be monthly or bi-weekly. They may not necessarily do it every week. I just think you kind of got to start fresh, at least in your mind, in a way that you have actually done with this new publications.
Yeah,
So,
and if you get the example from the Athletic, to put it like that, which was bought by the New York Times last week or 2 weeks ago.
Right.
Yeah, the Athletic was a website. It was a startup. I actually interviewed the founder in Madrid a few years ago, like 2 years ago.
Big news here. Yes. Okay.
Yeah, I know.
Yep.
And they just did what everybody wasn't doing. They were in every team, in every university, in every, and in every local fan. Every local fan had news for them here, and this is what New York Times thought it was interesting. So what I feel is that if you are doing something in your local place, just do what the others aren't doing. Don't do what the others are doing.
I love that. Like, don't compete. Try to innovate in a way that makes sense. Yeah. Because that's exactly it. There's always going to be so much more opportunity to do something new than to do something like old but better. That's so funny. That's a good just general lesson on startup. I like that one. It's very helpful for me. All right, Catarina, I don't want to take up too much more of your time. Is there anything else you want to tell our audience, American?
No, just do this with do everything with joy and put your heart there. I think that people feel that. Yeah. Right.
It seems dire, with the way that the news industry is portrayed these days, but there's never been more opportunity to do amazing things on digital.
That's why there are so many new things going on. Yeah.
Exactly. Right. And, you're on a WordPress platform. We're on WordPress. It's open source. It's got all the tools that you need, and it's all basically plug and play. So it's just kind of up to your imagination to, as you said, do everything with joy in your heart. I love that. I can tell that you've got a real passion for what you do. So it's been a pleasure talking with you, and just really nice to make this connection. Maybe at some point we can connect in the future and just see how you're doing and kind of have
And whenever you want to come to sunny Portugal.
Love it. Oh my gosh. Well, once I really start ramping up the travel again, I can't wait. We'll make it an international tour.
Sure. Yeah. Thank you very much,
Catarina.
Matt,
nice to meet you.
For having us.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for watching Today in News Tech, the podcast covering innovation in digital journalism. You can follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and subscribe on YouTube or any of your favorite podcast apps. We'll see you tomorrow.
At our hometown, we help newspapers build WordPress websites, design native apps, and develop digital subscription models. If you are interested in a free prototype of your publication on WordPress, go to ourhometown.com and click the Contact Us button.